This is a Oney original podcast.
Do she have the booty?
Do she have the booty? She do. 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 As in money.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the She Do podcast. I am Bria Renee.
And I am Natalie Burgo.
Ooh, Natalie. So, this podcast is about women, by women, and for women. And on this episode, we have Mikhaella Norwood, and she is a spoken word artist. So tell us a little bit more about you.
As you said, my name is Mikhaella Norwood. I'm a graduate from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. The university, right?
The university.
Go Blue.
Yes.
And yeah, I've been doing the spoken word game for a slight minute. So having a great time with that. I actually even just started up my own business all about spoken word and different performing of different kinds called Free Life Productions LLC. So I'm sure we're going to get into a whole bunch of good stuff.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited about all of that.
First off, congratulations on starting a business.
Thank
That's
you.
a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. So, spoken word artist. I will tell how I was introduced to you, even though this is our first introduction.
Right.
But I met you before you met me.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh,
So-
no, I feel honored.
Yes. So Natalie, she was at the TEDx Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
and she made a video for you. And I remember watching it. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, and when we were brainstorming for this podcast, she was like, well, we need to get Mikhaella. And I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing spoken word art?
Yes. So I have been a writer all my life. Honestly, that was like how I had fun or how I played games, in my opinion. You know, like even when I was in 5th grade, I thought it was like a game to write a song. And then people were like, can we do something else? And that was when I found out, like, okay, so this is like a gift. This is something that I do. And it really morphed, I think, in 8th grade into something else that wasn't just like a song, wasn't a rap, but it was somewhere kind of this mix in between. And then, of course, fell in love with Deaf Poetry Jam, you know, way back in the day. Right? Shout out to Russell Simmons. And that was like where I think I connected, and I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds like what I'm doing, but I didn't know that there was a place for it.
Right.
And so really been writing ever since. Since like 8th grade.
So what is the difference between, spoken word poetry, I don't know, regular poetry. I don't know if there is regular poetry, other kind of poetry, rap. Like what specifically makes something spoken word poetry?
Yeah, so spoken word, I think another thing that is kind of compared to it is slam poetry, if you've heard of that. Spoken word poetry is really more the genre of poetry. It's something that is raw, it's in your face, it has a beat to it a little bit. So it's really entertaining. It's very performance driven. And slam poetry is honestly very similar in the sense that spoken word typically, but slam is a competition. So anytime you hear a slam, it's a competition. I kind of learned that the hard way when I thought, like, I signed up for a slam thinking like, oh, it's just going to be, a little open mic. It wasn't.
They're like, what you got?
Is this about to be like a diss track, like 8 Mile, when he's like doing like the, like he's like, you go to Cranbrook.
Look, it was a whole competition, but crazy. I
that.
ended up actually winning.
Oh, wow.
Good.
Wow.
Didn't know that there were rounds
Fancy
and everything.
that, man.
That was
Right?
destined.
It was
destined.
meant to be. It was when I was a freshman in college at University of Michigan. And after I won, I had no idea because, of course, I didn't even know it was a competition. But I found out the winner got to be on the slam poetry team, which was going to travel, all expenses paid trip to New York and compete nationally.
What?
So that was actually
did
how
it, right?
I got,
Oh my God, good.
I went to New York, I
my gosh.
competed, and so that was actually how I really got into slam. And I was like,
so
whoa.
cool.
When you won,
people
did you fall out on the floor?
I was like, Jesus, what is going on?
Right.
You
Oh
know?
my gosh.
Oh my god.
It was so cool because, but I think, I feel like everything is so in divine order, and also, one thing leads to another when you're just living like how you know you should be, I guess.
Yeah.
So for me, I found out about it the day before because I was very intentional about doing my homework on time and being like, I was like, no procrastination this semester, you know? And so I was like, yo, if I actually, you know, had procrastinated, I would have totally missed the whole event and like would have never found out about this whole new world that opened up that really changed the trajectory of my life. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That is so cool. I
Fun
love that.
stories, right?
That's such a great story. Just like, oh, you know, I got here and here I am now.
Basically.
It was an accident, but here I am.
Exactly.
So how was that trip to New York and you know, just being in that space to where, you know, it's a competition. Like, what did that teach you?
You know, it's funny. I did it. I went to New York my freshman year. I think my sophomore year I went to Virginia. Another year I went to Colorado. And so it was something that I did for a few years. But I did actually end up kind of growing a little out of love. I think it was a great introduction. But I started kind of slipping out of love with slam because of the competition aspect.
It gets
like
tiring, I assume, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, how can you be like, how can I pour out my whole heart to you in 3 minutes and you be like, that's a 7. Like,
yeah.
You know?
How can you? Yeah. How do you compete with art? How do you rate? How do you give art a score?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you would find some people would just like pull out the worst things that ever happened to them, and it was kind of like, it kind of got to be like tragedy porn a little. Like, if I pull out the most extreme thing, then I'll get the ratings and I'll win. So I'm just like, I want to be super authentic, and I just kind of
absolutely.
Yeah. But it was still definitely meant to be because it opened up my eyes to see like, this is something that I can do as a profession. Like, and I never thought about it that way before. So.
Oh, that's so cool. So you do your poetry full time? Is that pretty much what you spend most of your day doing?
Mostly full time. I also am an actress, and I'm a writer in multiplicity of ways. So
really?
Yeah, so I've written a play before. I love writing monologues and just all sorts of things. So yeah.
Can we have one?
That's so cool.
Can you have a play?
A monologue.
I want a whole play right now.
Right now.
I was like, oh my goodness, that sounds like a lot.
I know we only got like 45 minutes left.
You have to do all the voices for each character. You gotta do all of it.
Oh my goodness.
Bria will read some stage directions or something.
I'll do ASMR.
Enter stage left. Piper begins.
It was
to
raining
speak.
outside.
Right.
I love it.
I heard a snap.
I stepped in a tree branch.
Oh my gosh. There is one that's like 20 seconds, like this monologue that I wrote. So be quick. And it's called Potluck.
Okay.
And I start out and I'm like, you know, I completely understand. It's hard remembering to bring a pot to potluck when it's only been your job every week the past 4 months. No, you just go over there and enjoy the food that we've been bringing faithfully every week the past 4 months. And then I'm like, don't invite her again.
Ooh.
It's a little bit of shade.
I would say that's
you know
some
what I'm
shade
saying?
there.
You know, you get the full effect when it's not just on a podcast, when it's like acted and
you see all the
emoted, you
faces.
know?
Yes.
But yeah.
It's fun watching her on this end. She's got the faces and everything.
Yes. I'm like,
I see you, girl. I see you.
I love seeing people do monologues. It was a monologue that Angela Bassett did.
Oh,
during the
come
interview.
through, Angela.
When
Oh,
I
she
tell
good.
you,
Oh
my God,
Mama Angela come for all of our edges every time.
yeah.
girl, what edges? She snatches me bald every performance.
She's bald.
Yes, every
True.
performance. I love her. Like,
she's so good.
what was I watching? The Michael Jackson story.
Oh,
So
come
the Michael
through.
Jackson story where she caught Joe Jackson cheating. Nah.
Don't do it, JoJo.
She was like, Joe Jackson, you're a liar.
And
You're a cheat. And I don't want you. No, I don't want you. I don't want you. I don't want you. I don't want you no more.
Come on, I know it, girl.
Oh my gosh,
Angela.
I remember the first time I watched that as a kid. I remember feeling that like,
That like didn't that
Joe
hit
Jackson.
You were 5. You ain't never been cheated on a day in your life, and you
never.
You're like 5 years old and you're like, I hate men.
Don't even know what cheating is, and I'm just sitting up there like, Joe Jackson, you are a
Listen.
Mama Angela said you a liar.
Mama
so
Angie.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I love her.
Oh, she's an inspiration.
Oh, she's so
regal.
Yes.
Like her, it just seems like her.
Yeah,
aura
and then you
is
saw her on Black Panther. She was the queen.
Oh, she's so good.
No, okay.
I mean, like with like platinum blonde
Dreadlocks.
locks. Oh, get
Ooh.
out of here.
I'm like, I love. Come on, Angela.
Yeah,
I love
all
her.
right.
I think that's like one actress that I would fangirl over.
Yeah.
Like in real life. Like I would just be like,
Yes,
come
yes.
here,
I
girl.
feel like in real life, there's one person I would fangirl over. It's not an actor or actress, but Stevie Wonder.
Oh,
I really, I have,
Stevie
like, a
Wonder.
deep love relationship.
Really? Oh.
I'm like super old school in my spirit, y'all. Like
Yeah.
I'm 24, but I'm really 60. And so, I mean,
You look good, girl.
I was like,
am I holding up?
She's got the good skin cream and
look
all
good.
of that.
You know, they say black don't crack. So.
You look good, girl.
But yes, yeah, I love his music. So he's somebody that really inspires me, even lyrically, because I love just really listening to lyrics.
Yeah.
And that brings me back to, you know, what is my poetry saying? You know, what's the drive of it? What's the heart of it?
Yeah.
To always make sure that I have some sort of message.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, the heart that I like to write out of.
I love that. I noticed that, like, you know, I listened to a few of your other performances.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, girl. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Well, because one of you, we made the one lovely.
And you guys did such a great job with that, by the way.
Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh, I loved that.
I mean, we were working with some pretty good material, man.
Yeah.
It was
Oh
good.
gosh.
Ooh, she good. We love her.
She do.
She do.
Yes.
She truly do.
I do.
The embodiment.
I do.
She do. She's the embodiment of she do all the way. The theme. I noticed some themes because you've performed like at halftime for the Pistons.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how
was
amazing was
that?
that?
Oh, guys. Can I tell
yeah.
you how that even like happened?
Yeah, I
Yes.
need. There's got to be a story there.
There's
for
a
sure.
whole story. So,
Oh yeah.
basically, it was like a year ago. I was out visiting my brother for New Year's. And it was just so funny. I was like, you know, you're trying to get your New Year's resolution, New Year, new me, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Like maybe for New Year's, I don't need a new resolution. I just need to like let me work on me, like my character, you know? Because I think it's so important that before you do what you're called to do, you become who you're called to become, you know? So I'm like, before I pray about like, I want to go here, I want to perform there, like I want to be a person of love and I want to be a woman of integrity, you know? And so that became my prayer, and I actually decided that day, I was like, you know, I'm gonna do this little Bible reading plan. I'm gonna just read the whole Bible in a year. No biggie, right? And literally the moment I opened it up, like the app on my phone, the Bible app, I got this random call from out of nowhere.
A sign.
Right?
Oh my God.
Out of nowhere. And it was like, hey, you know, I'm the director of entertainment with the Detroit Pistons. Someone slid me your card and we would like to book you. So how much is that gonna be? I was like, can I call you back?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Oh my
it was
gosh.
that random and that like unsolicited. It was really awesome. So being able to perform with them not just once but even twice. I mean, I think the second time around is even better because you know they actually liked you.
Right. That's so
around.
cool. Yeah, the first one's the trial one.
You know,
if they don't
it's
ask you
like-
back, there might be something wrong. But like, you know, they got you back, and that means they like you. They want you to come back.
So it was such a blessing. It was so cool. Everyone's so nice there, and
That's so cool.
Getting to meet different people, it was awesome.
And then we saw you at TEDx Detroit
Yes.
this year too, and you know,
Yes.
performing in front of all those people too.
Yeah.
And I noticed, like, you know, from a couple, you know, watching those you know, two Pistons videos, and then you at TEDx, it sounds like you seem to have a lot of themes that you kind of go back to that you really feel passionate about, that you know, that you really love. You know, you really like, you know, poetry about women and strength of women, and especially like Detroit. You know, sort of. I kind of get like a Phoenix Ash type thing.
I like that.
And you know, and your faith, and I think that's super interesting. And you know, do you want to? Why are those the things that you kind of have pulled out that you draw from the most?
Yeah, I think it's honestly, when I choose what I'm going to write about, it comes from what I see in the world that either really bothers me, and I'm like, why do people think this way? Let me write something to answer that, that question that may not have even been asked. And so about women, I feel like there's this cry that's like, hey y'all, we're here, we're dope, we're awesome, and just needing to put that out there in the world. Between that with my faith, it's like, what comes out of me is what's in me. And so it's like, what's most important to me, like my relationship with God, hands down. So that's gonna come out. My blackness, that's gonna come out. Like all the things where it feels like, hey, is there something missing in the conversation here? And so that's where I try and fill in some of the gaps.
Oh, that's awesome.
So for the people who are listening, could you give us a little snippets
Ooh.
of something?
Love a little bit.
Yeah, girl, I put you on the spot.
Yeah.
You did.
I did.
You did. She did. But you know what?
I
I'm
do.
gonna come through.
Ooh, so take the challenge.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Challenge. Okay, let us see.
Let me get my fingers ready
Oh,
so I can
gee.
snap. So I can snap.
You gotta snap.
She's wearing a unicorn snuggie, by the way, and that has mittens on it. So
she
had
literally.
her fingers in
I mean,
she had to take them out of her little
had my hands
little
in these.
hooves or whatever.
Listen, what can you not do with a snuggie? I mean, it's just the best thing known to man. Okay, all right. So there's this poem called Music. It was actually my first spoken word poem that I wrote. So I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of history. I am music. You are music. My first, last, and two middle names are music, harmony, melody, and sweet rhythm. See, I believe that we're known for our music. Our music that moves you, our music that soothes you, our music that gets you to do things that you never even thought that you could do type music, our music that heals your soul, our music that heals everything, even at a later time. And if you really wanted to get real deep, then throw that music on repeat because it still works. Yeah, I'm gonna leave y'all with that.
Oh, look, if I wasn't doing
It's
it,
a snap.
first of all, let me snap. So second of all,
Yes. Oh my goodness.
I
Yeah.
wish y'all could see my face. Cause look, if I wasn't doing this podcast, I would probably get up and do the auntie praise dance.
Oh, do the auntie praise
dance. Now you
Auntie
know.
praise dance.
Yes, hand over the chest and
She's
everything.
like, what's that?
Is that this one? Just like
Yes, you gotta.
the auntie
Put your
praise.
hands-
I love that.
But
I love
that's
that. I think I feel like I know exactly what that is too. Like auntie praise, just like
Yes, it's a thing. Like,
yes.
but that's beautiful. Like, and your
Thank you.
voice is like so like calm and soft, but powerful at the same time. Like, you know how like usually some spoken word artists, like I remember, it's not funny, but I remember like I don't know, maybe I just laugh at the wrong things, but I remember I was in high school and we had like I can't think of what the group was, but a couple of kids came up to the school to do like their poetry.
Yeah.
And it was this one poem. It was about love, but the tone behind the voice did not match. And I'm just like, this kind of sound hateful. Like, what's going on? Yeah, so it's just like, it was like, and I'm not going to say that she said this verbatim, but she was just like, love. Let me tell you about love. I'm like, this don't sound
girl,
love.
I don't really want to hear about it now. I feel all offended.
I don't know what type of love you speak of, but I don't want that. But like, it's just like your tone behind it, like talking about music and something
love
that
is an
you love.
illusion.
It's like, I love you. You know, like, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean that was essentially what the poem is about, just like a kind of like love ode to music.
I love it. It's I guess it's cool. It's what's cool about it is that you can't read it. It's like it's one of those things that's a completely auditory experience.
Yes.
It's not something that you can put in a book and read it or read it later. And it's kind of it's kind of nice, but also a little bit scary with the whole. It's not permanent. It's not like, I mean, we can go and read a Shakespeare poem from several hundred years ago, but from someone who spoken word poetry was around then. You don't know. There's no video.
And I think that's what's
anything.
really cool about spoken word is the fact that it is an intimate thing, because it's like
it's temporary.
you who is here in the room, and the moment comes and then it's gone. And what you picked up from it, what you glean from it is what you keep.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I am actually working on writing a book as well.
Ooh.
Really? Tell me more. Tell me more.
Well, you know, I can't tell too much. Look, I bring it up and then put it back.
Give
us a little leg and then
I was gonna say, yeah, show us some ankle.
Show you a little
Pull up
ankle,
those
pull it
skirts
back.
and show us your ankles.
It's not even an ankle. It's the toenail.
She
like
gets a toenail.
I'll show you this
Oh
toe.
my
It's
gosh.
painted pretty.
Listen, no, but I am because I think, and it's funny, so many people have always told me, like, you should write a book, just like you've written enough poetry that you can just put it together in a book. But I think it's kind of like what you said. I want to be very authentic to what the art is. And I'm like, spoken word poetry is not the same on a page.
Absolutely.
Which is why it literally has to be spoken. There's a cadence to it and a feeling behind how you say things that changes the whole message. But I was like, you know, I do want to dip my little toenail in the water and have something that was actually built to be in a book, that was built to be read. So I am actually working on currently a book of haikus.
Haikus, wow.
Yes, I'm working on a book of haikus. It's probably going to come out sometime next year. My deadline for me mentally is like, okay, girl, like literally November of next year. So,
Okay.
So be on the lookout.
Girl,
You know,
okay.
don't look
Okay.
too hard, but
Don't look too hard.
I'm looking. No,
Yeah.
but what is like when you write these poems? Not even when you, because I feel like the way that you're explaining it, do you like write them out and like say them line after line as you write them? Like how does
like
that
the
work?
writing
what's your
process.
process?
Yeah, what is
here?
that like?
Yeah, so really it will be something that I see maybe that affects me in some sort of way. And typically I'll start with the line I would kind of call the punchline. You know, the one that brings the most heat first.
Okay.
And I'll be like, ooh, that's good. And I'll write that down and I'll kind of build the rest of the poem before and after that.
Okay.
So it'll kind of be like the punchline. So I kind of write from the middle and then upwards and outwards.
Okay.
Which kind of sounds confusing, but it's kind of like a little freestyle. Like I'll just be, you know, in my room or in my car kind of freestyling. And as soon as I like this line, I'll pair it with another line. And I'm like, okay, now I got 2 lines. Now I'll say those 2 lines again and start freestyling and see what comes from there. And so it's just as like a long form freestyle, really.
We should do a spoken word freestyle.
A cipher. You
Y'all
guys
ready?
should. Oh, wait, right now.
Yes.
Oh, we're doing right now.
I was
hold on, wait a
like, guys, yeah, we should totally schedule something.
I was about to say that too. Yeah, I was like, yeah, we'll do
We'll
this.
bring our friends and
Put it
make
in
it
the
fun.
She's like, what, right now?
Put it in the books.
Hold on, wait a minute, girl. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I'm like, oh, about that.
how about we give our best 3 lines
oh
off the top of the dome?
Do we have a theme here? I
snap.
don't know what we're doing.
Yeah,
What are we doing?
we should get a
Oh,
theme.
what's the theme?
What?
Women do work. I feel like, she do is,
Okay.
right?
Oh,
Women
yeah, sure.
do
Women
work.
who, yeah, women.
Something like
Let me
that,
rub my
right?
You guys can go
temples.
first. I don't know. I don't know what
wait.
I'm doing
I'm
here.
gonna
so.
I'm gonna defer.
Okay.
So,
So
yeah, y'all
who's
can
going
go
first?
Not me, because I don't even know what
Not
we're
me
doing. I'm just
either.
here. You go first, because you're the one who said it. So
You're right.
What
It
are we-
was your idea.
Yeah, I'm currently rolling my eyes. I wish y'all could see this, but
Yeah,
anyway,
you did it. You
I'll go
started it.
first.
All
So
right.
women working.
Uh-oh.
Prepare
Clear the
myself.
throat.
So let's see. Women working. All right.
She already said that.
All right.
Don't do that because I'm ready. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Do women work? Yes, we do. Do it hurt? Sometimes it do.
Ooh.
But it gets done for sure with no, I don't know. That's all I came up
No
with.
manure.
Okay.
Hey, that means like we're not BSing.
No BS.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
That's $1 million spoken
Yes,
word song
sure.
right
Somebody,
there.
somebody go over and trademark that, copyright that
Yeah,
before
yeah,
they take it
please.
off the podcast.
There you go.
My booking info is in my bio.
Oh, uh-oh.
Natalie.
Oh, I gotta like write a poem right now. Oh,
You know, just super
shoot.
quick, off the top
Shoot.
of the
Okay, we're doing
dome.
women who work. Okay.
Women who work.
Women who work. WERK. It's okay. I'm on my way to the end of my poem right now.
I I thought you was gonna say day.
Me too.
My day.
Oh, we knew you were so close.
I was ready to drop the A. I'm like,
Yes.
Hey, to my day. I was gonna say end of my, and then I was like, wait, I don't want to say life because that's bad. I want to die.
no.
Well, that's
End of my
sudden dark
working day.
Working day.
There we go.
All
Okay,
right.
all right
now.
Okay.
Swish.
You know. Let's see. All right. Women, we've been out here on the grind for a really long time, and now we about to get our shine. Any more and you'll have to pay for it.
Yes.
You guys contact her manager.
Listen, my manager.
You do have a manager.
I do have a
my
manager.
goodness.
Booking info. If you do booking at mimifreelife.com, you will be able to reach her.
Yes.
So at the top of the interview, you told us about you starting a business.
Yes.
So tell us about that business.
So it is super brand new. It's called Free Life Productions LLC.
Okay.
And just created it in October, honestly, off of the hype of TEDx. I think, you do a TEDx and you got to get your life together, baby. You just got to, you got to pull some things together.
I love that you did TEDx at 24, by the way.
Oh,
my
God.
When I first met you, I was thinking, oh, she's so poisoned. She must be so much older than me. I'm like, we are the same age,
Oh, my
girl.
gosh. See, you're 24 too?
Yes.
Look, because I'm looking at you like, oh, my gosh, look at her. She's wearing fuzzy sweaters and, like, her whole life is put together. I mean, I think we figure stuff out one day at a time, and that's that's where I'm at. I think for me, the business, number one, what it does is allows people in a more official way to book me out in different capacities, be it spoken word artist, keynote speaker, things like that. Voiceover artistry is what people are looking for too. Because I got that voice.
You
babe.
do.
She do. Got that radio voice.
So
yes.
with
Smooth
those
sounds
things of me Norwood, right?
Yes.
But so all of those different things, and then I also wanted to grow, which is why it's just called Productions, to grow to me writing, more plays and web series and giving even more opportunity for local artists who are actors and writers and, people a part of crew. Because really the arts is my heart. And so I just want to see that grow all the more in Detroit because I know that we have all of the talent, but sometimes we don't have all the resource and people have to outsource somewhere else.
Yes.
And I'm just like, let's pull it together where it can really be here.
Yeah.
I'd love to know, I mean, as, I think we're all artists a little bit in this room, at least in some capacity.
Yes.
I think it's so hard for artists to kind of find the business side and how to profit and make money. Because usually, a lot of times when you say I'm an artist, you go, okay, well, what do you do all day long?
Exactly.
What do you you probably, it's like, people always say like, what's your day job?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you do otherwise? Right. It's kind of like what people always say, well, why can't I just do my art all the time? And how do you make a profit off of your art and make that your full-time job? How are you doing that? What kind of advice would you have for someone who is in spoken word poetry or, is an author or a speaker or in the arts at all?
In the arts at all.
How would you help, what would you say to them to help them make that their full-time job?
Yeah. So right now let's be clear, I do have part-time jobs, but even those are within the arts too. So I'm like, it's all feeding me and who I am and still growing me. And one day, that will no longer be a thing either. But I think number one, take your time. Like it's okay to turn around, be, 26 and be like, okay, I'm still working at this because so many people are.
And that's still so young.
Girl, me.
Like,
Me. I'm still in school.
But it's so important for people to realize, like, what we've made it out to be like, oh, by 18, you should know everything. No, chill out, right? So I'm on my journey. So the advice I would give is take a chance on yourself because I think that so many of us are willing to take a chance on every other job. And then when it's like, well, I have a business idea that I feel like is inside of me. but you know what? It probably isn't going to work out because, that's going to take a lot of... No, take a chance on yourself because you give yourself a chance and you're in business for yourself and you're working it, and it's gonna take time. It's gonna take hard work. But at the end of the day, that's something that is your legacy that you built that has your name on it. And if it dies, it's cool. You can rebrand and start again. So and that's a part of what free life is all about. My tagline is because you've never had to. You're like, what does that
this
mean?
Is crispy.
I like that.
Yes, because you've never had to, which is all to say, we live lives where we can make a choice and say, you know what, I've never actually had to stay at this job. Like, it is my choice to be here. And if I'm unhappy, I can make a different choice. It's going to have some sort of repercussion, of course, but I'm unhappy now, so what am I scared of to be like possibly unhappy in the future? It's like, you're already where you don't want to be,
right?
So just realizing you've never had to stay in a place in life where you're not satisfied. So go after all of the dreams and passions in your heart, and that's where life, you'll really find it just glow up.
Oh, yes.
I like that because you never had to. And that brings, I remember I was listening to a sermon by T.D. Jakes.
What he say?
He snatched my wig too.
Listen, first it was the edges, then you were bald, then you bought a wig to cover up all this, and he snatched that too.
They just take
British sushi girl had nothing left.
Nothing left.
She's just looking like Gollum now with her two little strands of hair coming.
Next is my eyebrows. Okay, look. But it was a sermon that he did, and he was talking about. I believe he was talking about his son, where his son, he was telling his son to like encouraging him to like try different things.
Yeah.
Like, and his son was like, what if I fail? And he was just like, if you fail, it's leading you to where you're supposed to be.
Yes.
So like, just accept that failure.
Yes.
And I just really like that you brought that point up, because I remember a time where, like prior to working here, I worked at a law office, and don't get me wrong, I appreciated it, helped me pay my way through school, but I was not happy, and I was so scared to move somewhere else until I was forced to move. And I remember, like, even when I didn't have a job, I didn't know what I was gonna do. I'm just like, well, at least I ain't having anxiety attacks at my desk, so I'm happy. Like, so it's just like, I think a lot of people are scared to fall and and also I remember being at a job where my supervisor, he would ask me, Bria, are you ready to fail today? And I'm like, what the hell?
Wow.
I remember thinking, like, what type of question is that?
Yeah.
No. And he was just like, he straight up told me, like, you are scared of failure. Like, and he was like, and he was like, as most people naturally are. But he was like, that's a part of the journey. Like, you're gonna fail. You can't win all the time.
A beautiful part. Like, you have to get to the place where that becomes beautiful to you.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And I think I'm in a good place where that is where I'm at.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. At the top of this year, I remember, okay, so how I told you guys how the Pistons like called like December 30th. And I remember, so December 31st, I was just like, you know what? Like, I don't want to work a full time. At the time I was. And I was like, I don't want to work a full time. I want to do my passions 24/7.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And little did I know, like about 2 weeks later, like I did the Pistons thing on MLK Day, which was a Monday. On Friday, I got fired from my full time.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Oh.
And I remember it was like the day before on Thursday, I really felt God say like, girl, you gonna get fired tomorrow. So just letting you know. And so I knew, and I told my parents, like I knew. And then when it happened, I was like, literally, I was already at this place of resolution because I was like, girl, you just performed like on the biggest stage of your life 4 days ago. And like,
you're gonna have bigger. I know.
It's gonna,
I see you.
I'm like, you're gonna be okay.
It's small fry.
So
Pistons,
I'm like,
they small fry, man. You got bigger and better coming, man.
But it was just crazy. Like, as I packed up my little box at my old job, I was grateful for the time I spent and the lessons I learned. And I got in my car. I was like, all right, Jesus, where's our next adventure? And that's literally been the rest of this year. It's just one big adventure that I would never take back for anything.
It's just crazy how like things that are meant to happen to you, your response when it happens. Like I knew because a situation happened at my old employer to where I had to quit. Like it was just an incident that made me, and I'm not trying to like put them out there, but it was an incident.
Not shade.
No shade. But it was an incident that, like, on top of me already not liking it, it was an incident that made me uncomfortable. And I remember when it happened, I was so upset. Yeah. And I was just like, I know. Like at that moment, I was like, I'm going to quit this job. Like I knew it, but I was just like, I'm upset. Let me just take a day because I don't like making decisions out of anger.
Oh, that's
out
good.
of being upset.
That's good.
Because you always you're not thinking right.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm just like, you know what? I'm pissed. I'm gonna sleep on it.
Sleep, girl.
And I'm a sleep on it and pray on it and wake up in the morning and see if I feel the same way. Then it's meant to be. And I remember I slept on it and I woke up and I was just like, still musty.
Still
musty. Yeah. And I remember when I told my employer, I'm like, I'm leaving. And at that time, it was so much stuff that I wanted to do with my money. Yeah. And I was just like, I can't even think about that because I feel peaceful. Like, it was like literally peace. Like, came, like, literally. As soon as I walked out that door, I'm like,
come on.
Breathe again.
Yeah.
I feel like Tony
Braxton. What is that? Like, on like one of those like pad commercials?
Oh
like the tampon commercials? She's spitting in the open field. Like,
yes.
I can breathe again.
That
she's
was
all like
that was
carefree.
me.
She's wearing white pants again.
That was me.
Like, you went outside and spun around the
I had on my white
pants. Yep. It was a white pants day.
I walked in with all black on, came out with all white on, like,
whoo.
But it's just like when those things happen, like, I just feel like those are instances where it was destined.
Yeah.
Because your response, like, if I feel like if I had jumped the gun, I would have been panicky. Like, did I make the wrong decision? I'm just like,
yeah. And sometimes I feel like you have to hit quote unquote rock bottom for you to lose that fear. Yeah. I really, when I graduated in 2016, like it was not that long ago, right? But I had every intention set to move to Atlanta. Okay. And, made the different connections, got booked in a play, all this stuff. And literally the day I was supposed to move, I got a call from the person who I was going to stay with. And they were like, I'm sorry, but we just changed our mind and you can't.
No.
So literally all this working the day, like around midnight, and my bags were packed. I had cleaned out my place. I had told people we had a party. No. I mean.
Not a party.
Baby. My church had sent me off. Like, everything.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like so devastated because I felt like I had to just start over. Like, I was like, this was everything, my whole post-college plan. And now it's just gone over like a text message. Like, okay, let's regroup. And it felt like rock bottom, and I cried and I was upset, of course, but also it's like, okay, I feel like I'm at the bottom, but God, I trust you, and show me like what's the purpose, because I'm real mad at you right now. Yeah. I'm not really feeling you, but like what's the purpose, and show me. And so I remember somebody telling me like, I really feel like God has something still here in Detroit for you. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well where it at though?
What is it?
You know what I'm saying?
What is it?
And then you get things like the Pistons twice and TEDx Detroit and sitting down with you beautiful people, and then it's like, wow, okay, because like what I was going to Atlanta for was literally only going to last for 3 months, and then I had to regroup again, you know. So I'm just like, okay, you know what you're doing, and I'm happy to live in that flow, and it made me lose my fear for like, well, what if it all falls? Because it's happened before, and I've seen how things get put back together again.
It's like, it's like if it's like, jumping into water for the first time. It's like if you don't know what, like, it's like, is water going to be cold? Is it going to be sharks in there? But like, once you actually finally, just do it and jump in the water, it's like, you know what? It's kind of balmy. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. There's actually not sharks in this pool.
I think I like it.
I think,
like
it's not a bad thing.
You jump in water, you like, am I going to sink or swim?
Yes.
Because I want to live. I'm going to kick kick
Yeah.
as hard as I possibly
And then pretty
can.
soon you're climbing out and jumping back in again. And
Yeah.
it's and then you have no, no problem doing it again.
Yeah.
And, you don't even know what's stopping you in the first place. You thought you were just so
Yep.
crazy.
No inhibitions.
I know, exactly.
Mhm.
It's hitting rock bottom gets you that.
It'll give you that.
You can just keep jumping over and over
you
and
have
over
a
again.
fire in a fight that you never had before.
Oh, yeah.
Like I remember my mom sitting me down and she was kind of being a little sarcastic or whatever to see how I would respond, but she was like, so I guess, you just go get, a regular desk job and just forget about the arts. And I was like, why would you say that? Right after I told her, like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Like, this is just too hard. It's too much. I'll never do this again. The arts, I'm done. And she's like, yep, you're right. And I was like, no, I gotta keep going.
She like, let me do some reverse
She was
psychology
like,
on her.
she got me.
She Bugs Bunny you.
Listen,
Mom's
she
always got
me.
you. They do that,
And she's
man.
a doctor, so she's
They're like
really
Dumbledore.
strict.
I
See,
feel like
y'all need
moms
her
are
on the show because she really do.
She
Like,
do.
listen, if I do, she really do.
Bring
yeah.
Mama on
Bring
the
Mama
show.
Norwood.
I'm ready for Mama Free Life.
Mama
I'm
Free
all
Life.
Mama on the
We got
show.
Mimi Free Life. No, we got Mama
Free Life.
I'm
okay?
ready for it.
Listen, she will drop some words of wisdom. She always does for me. So
But it's
I
like
love
that
it.
that failing and falling and hitting rock bottom is humbling.
Oh,
That
for
is the most
sure.
humbling
For
thing
sure.
ever. And it changes your perspective on a lot of stuff.
yeah.
And another thing that it does is it forces you to be creative, like
Yeah.
find ways to do certain things. So like say for example, you don't have the money to do stuff. You'd be like, okay, damn, well, who do I know that I could connect with that has the resources I need and genuinely is synergistic with, we have synergy and, we are aligned and this is where I want to go and they want to meet me there. And it's just so crazy because it's like literally you're just thinking like, okay, you're in the mindset of like survival. Like, okay, let me keep this thing alive. And it's like along the way you will meet so many people and be presented with so many opportunities that are for you.
Yeah.
And you're just left sitting there like, God.
Yeah. But you know that it's through you, but it's not about you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference now.
I'm like, God, is this a nice joke that you tried to prank me with? Because your girl
And
was
he
worried.
Like, listen, he like, got him.
God be like, right. God be like, I told you to calm down. I told you not to worry. I told you to simmer yourself down.
Like, I got you. And it's so much better to be humble about it and walk through. Like when people, like when you guys ask me questions, it's like, I know I'm really not that great. Like I have a dope gift, but like I didn't give myself that. Like that came naturally and through God. And so I'm just like, I'm just along for the journey because every day has a new adventure and I'm ready to ride it. I feel like that song, like life is a highway,
ride it
all night long.
Exactly, that's it. Oh yeah, you're riding the highway.
Yes, ride the highway. of
Indeed.
life.
And I like that you're doing all of this in Detroit because I think, you said, thought about going to Atlanta. And, so many people, I mean, being in, also being, having my own little like acting background and film background, everybody is like, well, I'm going to go to New York 'cause that's what everyone does. I'm going to go to LA. That's what everyone does. And they stay there for 6 months, don't get anything, and then come home. And they're like, well, I mean, I wasted all of my money trying to like be someone that I'm not with all these other people that had the same idea.
And there's that oversaturation out there.
It's so oversaturated, and it's like I'm not sure what you're doing that's going to be different, and that's something that hasn't been done already.
Yeah.
And I think Detroit has got, I think, folks like you, Mikhaella,
thank you.
are sort of the grassroots and sort of the ones that are building the Detroit acting and sort of arts culture of the future. And pretty soon, hopefully, someone's gonna be, once we get our Michigan Film Incentive back, that is. And I know. Oh my gosh.
Lord, Jesus, we need that back, right?
I'm so ready. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's gonna come back.
Oh, it has to.
I'm just speaking it.
Governor, what? Oh my! I almost just said Granholm. I'm like, where are we?
Oh Jesus, that was like 2 times ago.
I was like,
yeah, it's
Whitmer.
Whitmer.
If
Gretchen.
Yeah,
Whitmer.
Gretchen. If you listen to us
Governor
out
Gretchen
there in
Whitmer.
the future, my
Please.
girl,
Please,
bring
girl.
it back. Oh, it was
With
so
the
good.
capital P. And it's just crazy
It was
because
so good.
it's so many people that want to do things here, but we don't have the resources.
Yeah.
So a lot of people like go other places and try to bring it back. But like they may have the intention like, okay, I'm gonna come back, but you get sucked in because you're like,
Yeah.
I'm living my dreams, and you forget to come back, and it's just like
and everybody wants the opportunity.
They do.
Absolutely.
And so I mean, I'll be honest, like I'm not against moving, but in terms of what I see for myself, I see myself as having like multiple places.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely.
it's like, okay, the project that I'm doing for the next 3 months is out in New York. I'm gonna be there, and then when that's over, I come back to Detroit, and then there's another thing in LA or Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I see myself as kind of being that nomadic type of person, like where the opportunity is, I am. But simultaneously, I feel like where I am, the opportunity is.
Right.
Especially as a writer. It's like, man, if I don't see a role that fits me, because I mean, being like an almost 6 foot Black woman who's curvy, like sometimes it just is like, oh, you're not the type for this, like and so it's like, okay, well, I will write my own type and my own monologue, and we gonna hook it up,
right?
Absolutely,
so
when there aren't opportunities, make your have to make them. So many people are relying on someone else to start them
something.
And discover them. Everyone wants to be discovered.
Yeah, it's like you discover yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who are you? Find yourself and see like,
Seriously.
okay, so this is how I can best market me.
Absolutely.
Because like a lot
super important.
A lot of the people that I like admire, like Issa Rae.
Oh
like
yeah,
Ava DuVernay.
I was following Issa from, I'm talking about the beginning, like YouTube series of Awkward Black Girl. Yeah.
I found out about Issa Rae. It was shortly before Insecure came out. Okay. So I didn't watch Awkward Black Girl. Okay. And I remember, I don't know how I found out about her. I think I like read something. I'm like, oh, she's done. Like whatever. Then I watched Insecure. And I was just like,
you're like, Janet,
yes. And I'm like, who is she? I need to find out who she is. Like, I need to know everything about her. So I stalked her on YouTube.
Listen, it's worthy.
Yeah, it really is. Like, Awkward Black Girl is so good.
Yeah.
Like, and what I like about that show, what I really liked about Awkward Black Girl is I felt like it could identify with me. Like, growing up, I didn't listen to like. My mom, she's a hip hop head. So we would ride in the car and she had me listen to like Jay-Z, all kinds of Nas, all kinds of random rap. But in my own personal time, I liked alternative pop. And that was a thing that like Black girls my age weren't doing.
Like,
so, it's just like, why are you listening to this white girl music? And I'm just like, this is what I like. And I've always been a little bit different. So like even watching that show, I was just like, wow. Like
there's space for me.
Yeah, it's space for me. Like even though I kind of validate my own space, but to see that it's someone out there that's like you and making
it's nice to see that the space is not just yours.
Yeah. Like
someone else can open
space. It's not just my space, but not only making a space for it, but making an empire off of the space.
Ooh,
that's
empire.
Making an empire off of
she
the
has
space.
her own queendom.
Yes, and it's just so crazy because I literally watched that show. I was just like, dang, she did all of this stuff before Insecure. Like, oh, she's
and that
amazing.
To me is the best part because I don't actually watch Insecure, but it's like one of those things like when you know how you see like start from the bottom, now we hear certain stories and you're like, yo, like some of y'all don't even know where she started, and to know like she was out there doing like, hey, all right, you my girl, spit these lines real quick, like, and now to be where she is, I'm like, come on, business savvy, wonderful woman, like.
And I like another thing that I respect about her. She's so unapologetic.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So
like,
unapologetic.
I'm rooting for everybody Black.
Yeah, and I'm like she's just so unapologetic, and it's just like, especially because we live in such a sensitive time to where, and when I say that, like, of course, everybody deserves to be included. Everybody deserves to be seen. However, I think a lot of times people think that when you identify with one thing and you root for that thing, it makes you anti everything else, and that's not it. And I just feel like with her, she's so unapologetic about her space, like and who she is as a whole, not just as a woman in film, not as a director, as a producer.
Intersectionality is so important, and I think we gloss over that so much. And I think that in the past it was already difficult enough just to say like, okay, like, you know, hey, you know, you are a Black woman and you are here, you exist as a Black woman. But now it's like not just, you know, it's not just you're a Black woman. It's like you're a Black woman who likes this. You're, you know, you're a Black woman who identifies as a nerd, who likes Lord of the Rings, who like, you know, I'm an athlete. I do this. So it's not just, it's so many things, and it's not just one of those things, you know, because of course, you know, for some reason, the baseline, quote unquote, is like cisgendered white male is kind of like who's like middle class, is, you know, upper middle class is kind of like the baseline. And then like every step away from that is like a diversion. So it's like you can only have so many steps away from the diversion that before you're like not relevant anymore. Apparently it's like, well, there's nobody like you. So why would we ever like, there's not enough people to appeal to that kind of audience.
And it's always a lie, because then you put something out and everybody crawls up from under their bed like, oh yeah, this is me. I found my people.
I love her. Like, I have so much respect for Issa Rae. It's not even funny. Like,
indeed.
She's amazing.
That's lovely. So Mikhaella, do you have anything you want to plug? So this, you know, we're into February at this point.
Gosh.
So,
February is my birthday month. I do want to plug that. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday. When's your birthday?
February 7th.
Oh my gosh. Soon.
I'm going to be 25. So that's pretty serious. That's the first thing I want to plug. No.
Everyone go wish Mikhaella on her Instagram.
Bless her Cash App.
Her Facebook, her Twitter.
Oh, bless my Cash App, baby. Yes, okay. It's just $ Mikhaella Norwood, and you can always come through.
Okay.
I would say definitely visiting my website, which is www.mimifreelife.com. All my social medias are at mimifreelife. If you want to book me to come through, it's booking at mimifreelife.com. So those are the big things in terms of like different things I'll be doing. Really February is Black History Month. So that is kind of more of that high time for me to kind of do different things. So if you want me to roll through and spit some truth for your Black History Month, and then March is coming up, and that is Women's History Month. She do. If you want me to do it, then go ahead to that booking email, and my manager can get you set up.
Oh my gosh. What a treat you are to the universe. We heart Mikhaella so much.
Aww,
we love you.
I love all of you.
And as the video says, all the reasons why we heart Mikhaella.
Oh, I love all of you so much.
Can you move into our office?
Listen, I mean, y'all can be my new part-time.
Move on in. You don't even have to like say anything.
It's like you don't even have to work. We just want your presence.
Look,
she's the little pet squirrel we put in a box. Like she's ours now. Like she's staying.
Mike is gonna be like, Mikhaella is here. I'm like, yes.
Again?
Yes.
Where are you? Come out. And you just like hear her look up.
She's an honorary employee.
Thank you. Listen, I literally just get paid to just be here. That's it.
That's it.
Just my presence.
Don't ask her to do anything.
Please don't.
I think you like need to push a button on your like ring a bell on your desk, ding ding, and then she comes over and says some poetry for you, and you're like, okay, now I feel inspired to write some more. She's here for. She's like does the inspiring poetry.
Drop a few bars.
Yeah, if you get stuck writing or working on a video, you're like, oh man, I need some inspiration. And you're like, ding ding, Mikhaella, come over here and give me some poetry.
She'll be like music.
On demand.
Like, yes.
On demand poetry.
Yes. I love it.
Coming to a workplace near you, 2019.
Listen, and if you hit up that booking email, I may be able to do that too.
Oh, she's ready. She's here for it. All right. Thank you, Mikhaella.
Thank you.
You're a gem. All right. This is She Do, and I am Natalie.
And I am Bria, and we will... I gotta stop saying that. You will hear from us in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was a One E original podcast.